Who would touch food from a filthy black woman like you? The words slammed against the diner's walls, loud enough to make the forks pause mid-air. The room stilled. Even the jukebox in the corner seemed to choke on its tune. Danielle Brooks stood in the aisle, plate in hand, steam curling upward like smoke from a fire no one wanted to acknowledge. She had walked toward him with nothing but quiet intention, to offer a meal to a man who looked tired, lonely, undone. But Gerald Whitman, regional director of Summit First Bank, recoiled as if her kindness carried disease. His suit was wrinkled, his tie slack, his face worn with years of privilege he mistook for wisdom. And now, in front of strangers and witnesses, he carved her dignity apart with a single sentence. A couple in the booth nearest the counter whispered to each other, eyes darting toward Danielle. One young man at the back fumbled with his phone. The faint glow of his camera lit his face as if he were deciding whether to press record. He hesitated, and the screen went black. For now, Danielle's expression did not change. No anger, no recoil, just a calm that unsettled more than any outburst could have. She set the plate on the counter gently, the clink of ceramic against wood, the only sound in the diner. Whitman leaned back on the stool, wiping his palm across his jacket as though her presence had stained him. "Charity is for beggars," he sneered, raising his voice so the entire diner could hear. "People like you should remember where you belong." Danielle's grip tightened on the strap of her bag, but her silence stayed. It was not weakness, it was waiting. Somewhere near the entrance, an elderly man squinted, tilting his head as if he recognized her face. His lips parted, but he stopped himself, sipping his coffee instead. The recognition was there, unspoken, tucked away for later. The waitress, frozen in place with a half-poured cup of coffee, finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. That was not right. But her eyes flicked nervously to her manager, who shook his head, silencing her with a single glare. Danielle finally broke the silence. Her words were low, deliberate. Some meals feed the body, others expose the soul. The line hit differently. The couple stopped whispering. The waitress set the coffee pot down with trembling hands. And Gerald Whitman, he smirked, as though convinced he had won. But he did not notice the vibration of a phone in Danielle's bag. The sound was faint, but her eyes caught it. A flicker of acknowledgement quickly masked by stillness. She did not answer. Not yet. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we are glad you are here. Now, back to Danielle. Whitman pushed the plate farther across the counter, the food sliding dangerously close to the edge. Danielle stopped it with one hand, not for him anymore, but for the witnesses watching. Her voice stayed calm, almost surgical. "You just told the room more about yourself than you ever could about me." The diner air grew heavy, like the moment before a storm. Something was shifting, and the storm no one knew yet was just beginning. The young man at the back of the diner finally tapped his screen. A red light blinked faintly, hidden by the shadow of his sleeve. He was filming now, but the phone stayed low, close to his chest, as if he was not ready to be bold yet. At the counter, the elderly man who had squinted earlier leaned forward. His eyes studied Danielle more carefully, narrowing as though memory and recognition wrestled behind them. He whispered into his cup, "Brooks," so softly no one else heard. Then he looked away, lips sealed, waiting. Inside Danielle's bag, the phone continued to vibrate. She pulled it out slowly, placing it face down on the counter. The screen lit once, displaying a name, Carla Evans. She pressed the green button but did not lift it to her ear. Her words were simple, steady. Not yet. She ended the call with a single touch. Gerald Whitman chuckled at the sight. "What, calling back up? Did you think anyone here believes your little act? Offering scraps like some savior?" His voice dripped contempt, carrying across every booth. A woman near the window gasped quietly, her child looking up with wide eyes. Danielle turned, scanning the diner. She did not raise her voice. She did not defend herself. Instead, she asked the room, "What do you see right now?" No one answered. The silence pressed against the walls like a held breath. Whitman smirked wider, mistaking the quiet for victory. "They see a fraud, someone playing dress-up with kindness. They see exactly what I see." He stabbed a finger toward her as though sealing the verdict. But his hand trembled, just slightly. Enough for the boy's camera to catch. Enough for the elderly man to notice. Danielle placed the untouched plate of food back on the counter in front of him, not with defiance, but with precision. Some hunger is in the body, she said, and some is in the heart. One is easier to cure than the other. The words lingered. The waitress near the coffee pot bit her lip. The boy's phone captured her hands shaking. The elderly man closed his eyes for a moment, as though bracing himself for what was to come. And Whitman, he laughed again, but this time it rang hollow. What no one in that diner yet knew was that his past was closer than he realized, and the storm Danielle had promised with her silence was already gathering. Thou. The boy at the back of the diner raised his phone a little higher this time. The trembling red light on his screen revealed the truth that Gerald Whitman was trying so hard to hide. His finger, still pointed at Danielle Brooks, shook in the frame. His voice carried arrogance, but his body carried fear. The boy's camera captured every second, the tremor magnified by silence. He whispered to himself, "The world needs to see this," but he did not press upload yet. Not yet. The elderly man stirred his coffee slowly, each rotation of the spoon a deliberate count. It sounded like a clock, ticking down to something inevitable. His gaze shifted from Whitman to Danielle, then back again. He muttered one word into the rim of his cup, Brooks. No one else caught it, but it hung in the air like a secret meant to explode later. Whitman forced a laugh. It was too loud, too brittle, like glass under strain. "Do not be deceived," he shouted, addressing the entire diner. "This is nothing but a performance. She is nothing but a fraud." But his hand betrayed him again. He gripped the counter so hard that his knuckles whitened. His voice declared dominance, yet his body screamed collapse. The boy's phone saw it all. Danielle stood calm, as if rooted to the floor. Her words came without anger. "Truth does not need performance. Truth only waits, and it always reveals itself." A woman sitting near the window leaned close to her husband. "She is right," she whispered. "Look at him. Look at how he shakes." The husband frowned, pulling their child closer, as though the tension in the room had turned physical. Another man muttered from a corner booth, "Mind your own business." The diner was dividing, half aligning with Whitman, half with Danielle. Her phone lit up again on the counter. The name Carla Evans flashed for a second time. Danielle's eyes flickered, but her hand stayed still. She let it ring. "Storms do not announce themselves," she said, her voice low but firm. "They arrive." The words rippled across the diner. Whitman slammed his palm down hard, rattling silverware and drawing startled gasps. "Do you think words make you powerful?" His tone cracked under the weight of his own fury. "I run a bank. You are nothing but noise." The elderly man stopped stirring. He set his spoon down with a sharp clink that silenced the room. His voice, deep and measured, cut through like a blade. "Careful, Gerald." Heads turned. Eyes widened. The boy's phone nearly slipped from his hands as the feed captured the moment. The old man's warning carried a weight no one else understood. He knew something about Whitman, about Danielle, maybe about both, but he said nothing more. He just waited. The boy whispered into his phone, "This is not over." His viewer count ticked upward in the corner of the screen, silent proof that the storm was already spreading beyond the diner walls. And Danielle, she folded her hands neatly on the counter, her face calm, her silence louder than Whitman's shouts. The storm was closer now. Everyone could feel it, but no one yet knew how or when it would break. The boy's phone screen pulsed brighter now. Notifications flashed as viewers outside the diner began to comment in real time. "Who is she? This is insane. Keep recording." His hands trembled as the numbers climbed. Yet inside the diner, no one knew the storm had already slipped through the walls. Gerald Whitman's face tightened. He turned toward the elderly man who had dared speak his name with warning. "Do not lecture me, old man," Whitman spat. "You have no idea what is happening here." But the old man did not flinch. His eyes, sharp beneath heavy brows, held Whitman steady. "I know more than you want remembered," he said softly. He did not elaborate, leaving the words suspended like a knife waiting to drop. Danielle remained calm, her hands folded on the counter. "The louder you shout, the more you confess," she said. Her tone was not raised, but it carried farther than his anger ever could. A ripple moved through the diner. The woman near the window reached for her daughter's hand. The waitress shifted uneasily, her coffee pot forgotten. Divisions deepened. Some whispered support for Danielle, others muttered defense of Whitman. The room itself seemed to lean toward a choice. Whitman slammed his fist against the counter, rattling plates and silverware. "Enough of this. I built my career on strength, not weakness. You think a stranger's words can unmake me? His voice cracked on the last syllable, a fracture too raw to hide. The old man lifted his cup again but did not drink. He looked at Danielle as though silently granting permission for something unseen. Danielle's phone buzzed once more. The name Carla Evans glowed against the dim light. This time Danielle tapped the screen, holding the phone to her ear. "Proceed," she said quietly. Whitman sneered. "Who are you talking to? Do you really believe anyone takes orders from you?" His laugh was sharp, desperate. But the boy's stream captured everything. The trembling, the defiance, the call, and the comments poured faster. One viewer typed, "She is not ordinary. Look at her. Watch closely." The elderly man leaned back at last, his voice low, almost for himself. The past does not stay buried forever. The diner's silence thickened. Something was rising, building, waiting, and no one inside yet knew how close the eruption was. The boy's phone buzzed in his hand. Notifications rolled across the screen. Likes, shares, comments multiplying by the second. "This is live," one read. Another shouted, "Expose him!" The stream was no longer a secret. People outside the diner were watching, but inside the walls, no one had realized yet. Gerald Whitman squared his shoulders, though the lines on his face betrayed strain. "Proceed?" he mocked, glaring at Danielle. "You sit there with your little calls, pretending authority. Who exactly do you think you are?" Danielle did not move. Her voice was steady, measured. "Someone who listens, someone who waits, someone who does not need to shout to be heard." The elderly man set his cup down, this time with finality. His eyes locked on Whitman. "I warned you, Gerald. I told you years ago that pride built on lies collapses fast, faster than you can imagine." The room shifted. Guests leaned in, sensing a thread unraveling. A young woman whispered, "Years ago? What does he mean?" Whitman's jaw tightened. "Do not speak of the past," he snapped. His voice cracked again, revealing the fracture. "That is finished." But the old man shook his head slowly. "It is not finished. It never was. And now look around you. It has come back to claim you." The boy's phone trembled as more comments appeared. "What is the past? Does she know him? Uncover it." His audience grew, though he dared not reveal the feed to anyone inside. Not yet. Whitman slammed his fist again, rattling silverware. "You are delusional, old man. And you," he pointed at Danielle with venom, "you are nothing but a stranger trying to humiliate me in my own city." Danielle leaned forward slightly, her voice cut clean through the tension. "A stranger? Or a witness who has been here longer than you realize?" Her phone buzzed again. A message slid across the screen. "Compliance report in motion. Evidence review underway." She tapped the screen once and turned it face down, leaving the words unreadable to anyone else. The waitress near the coffee pot whispered to herself, "Evidence? Against him?" But no one responded. Whitman's face paled. He glanced once at the old man, then back at Danielle, then away quickly, as though afraid of what might surface. His silence lasted longer than his fury. The storm Danielle had promised no longer lingered at the horizon. It was pressing against the door, ready to break it open. The murmurs in the diner grew louder. Conversations that had been whispers now spilled into the open. "What did he do?" one woman asked. "Why does that old man sound like he knows everything?" another added. The air was no longer just tense. It was restless, buzzing with suspicion. Danielle's phone glowed faintly where it lay face down on the counter. With deliberate calm, she turned it over. A single message illuminated the screen. "Preliminary findings confirm. Past complaints unresolved." She read it silently, her expression unchanged, then placed the phone back down. The boy filming caught the brief flash of the message in his lens. His viewers erupted in the chat. "Complaints? About what? Show the details." But inside the diner, no one else had seen. Not yet. Gerald Whitman's face tightened further. Beads of sweat formed near his temple. He snapped toward the elderly man. "You keep your mouth shut. You think you can drag up old rumors and undo me? Those records mean nothing." The old man did not waver. "They mean everything," he said quietly. "You buried them once, but the ground does not stay still forever." A hush fell. The waitress, clutching her apron, whispered, "What records?" Her voice cracked, carrying farther than she intended. Heads turned toward her, then toward Whitman. Danielle leaned forward slightly, her voice calm but cutting. "Records have weight, Gerald. They do not vanish just because you wish them gone. They wait, and they return. Whitman slammed his hand on the counter again, but this time it lacked force. His palm lingered against the wood, his fingers trembling as though holding on to something slipping away. "Do not test me," he hissed. "You have no idea what you are meddling with." The boy's stream continued, the comments climbing. "He is hiding something. Why is he shaking? Expose him." His audience was swelling beyond the walls, a storm gathering in silence. The elderly man placed both hands flat on the counter. "I told you years ago, Gerald. One day, the truth would stand in front of you, and you would have no place left to run." He looked at Danielle, and for the first time, a faint nod passed between them. Whitman's eyes widened at the gesture. "You know her?" His voice cracked, desperate. "What is this?" The diner's silence deepened again. Danielle did not answer. She folded her hands, her composure unwavering. "What this is," she said slowly, "is consequence." The word hung heavy, final, yet it was not the end. It was only the beginning. "What do you want?" The boy's live stream continued to swell, the comments scrolling faster than his eyes could follow. "Who is she? What complaints? This man looks finished." Viewers outside the diner already knew a storm was brewing, even if the people inside remained blind to it. Gerald Whitman's voice trembled as he repeated his question, louder this time. "You know her?" His glare snapped between the elderly man and Danielle. "What is this? What trick are you playing?" The old man did not look away. His weathered face held steady, lines etched deep with memory. "She is not a trick, Gerald. She is the truth you feared long ago." By maybe. Danielle remained composed, her hands resting on the counter, her gaze unflinching. She had not spoken of their connection, not yet, but the faint nod between her and the old man lingered in the minds of every witness. The waitress, wringing her apron, broke the silence. "What do you mean long ago? What happened?" Her voice wavered, but the question hung heavy. Whitman's face flushed crimson. "Stay out of this," he barked, but the edge of desperation bled through. He turned back to the old man. "If you speak another word, I swear." The old man's voice cut him off, calm but sharp. "You swore before, Gerald. You swore to bury every complaint, every voice that challenged you. You silenced them once. But silence does not erase truth." The diner gasped as though the walls themselves had inhaled. A woman clutched her daughter tighter, while the man beside her muttered, "Complaints? About what?" Danielle finally spoke, her tone steady, deliberate. "A history of arrogance leaves footprints, and those footprints do not fade." Whitman's palms pressed against the counter, trembling harder now. Sweat gathered along his collar. "Lies!" he spat. "All of it. No one here can prove a thing." But his words rang hollow. The boy's phone continued to capture every shake, every crack in his voice, and the comments exploded. "Check the records. This is real. Expose him." Danielle's phone buzzed once more. She turned it over. Another message. "Board notified. Documentation upload in progress." She tapped the screen once and slid it back across the counter. The elderly man leaned closer to Whitman, his voice so low the room leaned in to hear. "You remember the name Michael Harris, do you not?" Whitman froze. His lips parted, but no words came. His eyes darted, frantic, as though searching for escape. The boy whispered into his phone. He froze. Who is Michael Harris? His audience, thousands now, demanded answers. Danielle's eyes narrowed slightly. "Truth has many witnesses, Gerald. Even the ones you thought you erased." Whitman staggered back a step, his chair screeching against the floor. "Stop it," he said, voice cracking. "Do not bring that name here." The diner was silent, every breath tethered to the moment. The storm was not only near it, was inside the room now, and it was not leaving. 2. The diner was no longer just a place for meals. It had become a chamber of judgment. Every whisper, every glance, carried weight. And above it all, Gerald Whitman's silence after the name Michael Harris thundered louder than his shouting ever could. The old man's voice returned, steady and low. "You remember him, Gerald. You remember the file, the accusations, the way you buried it before anyone could see." Whitman shook his head violently. "Stop it. That name has no place here. It means nothing." But his trembling hands betrayed him again. The waitress clutched the counter, her voice shaking. "Who is Michael Harris?" Whitman snapped back, his voice desperate. "No one. He was no one." Danielle's eyes narrowed. She did not raise her tone, but her words sliced the air. No one? Then why does the sound of his name strip the color from your face? The boy's camera zoomed in closer, catching the sweat dripping along Whitman's collar, the wild dart of his eyes. The live stream exploded with comments. Look at him shake. Who was Harris? Search the name, find the story. The elderly man leaned forward, voice unwavering. Michael Harris was a teller at your branch, Gerald. A man with ambition, a man who dared question your practices. He filed a complaint. Do you remember what you did to him? The room fell silent. Whitman's lips trembled. He lied, he stammered. He lied and he paid the price. No, the old man said firmly. You crushed him. You silenced his voice. And the bank turned its back on him because of you. Gasps rippled through the diner. The couple near the window exchanged horrified glances. The waitress whispered, Dear God. Danielle finally spoke again. Truth is patient, Gerald. You silenced Michael Harris once. But silence is not victory. It is delay, and delays end. Her phone buzzed once more. She turned it over, revealing a new message. Evidence tied to Harris confirmed. Upload at 90%. Her thumb lingered over the screen before she placed it back down. Whitman's voice cracked, raw with fear. You cannot prove anything. You cannot tie me to this. It was years ago. But the live stream audience had already begun their hunt. Thousands of viewers were typing Michael Harris, Summit Bank, into search engines, pulling threads Whitman had prayed would stay buried. The boy's phone quivered with the notifications. The elderly man shook his head slowly. You see, Gerald, the silence you bought is unraveling, and every lie you built is collapsing in real time. Whitman stumbled back, his chair screeching against the floor. His breath grew shallow, panicked. This is a setup. It is all a setup. Danielle's calm presence remained unbroken. Her voice was almost a whisper, yet it carried to every corner of the diner. The truth does not need setups. It stands on its own, and it is almost here. The storm had crossed the threshold. Everyone in the diner could feel it pressing in, unavoidable, unstoppable. The diner had gone still, every eye fixed on Danielle's phone. The small screen buzzed once more, a final vibration that carried more weight than a shout. She turned it over, and the message glowed in stark letters, Upload complete, evidence public. The boy's camera caught the moment in full, the red light blinking as thousands watched live. His chat exploded with shouts. It is online. Look at the files. Harris was real. Whitman staggered forward, his voice breaking. This is manipulation. You think a file makes truth? You think you can undo me with paper and ink? Danielle's voice was calm, steady as a blade. Paper and ink are records. Records are memory. And memory does not die, Gerald. The old man leaned in, his words slow and deliberate. Michael Harris filed a complaint of discrimination. He spoke of corruption. He named you, and then he vanished from the bank. Everyone knew why, but no one had proof until now. Gasps echoed through the diner. The waitress covered her mouth. The couple near the window clutched each other. For the first time, every single person inside the diner leaned toward Danielle, not Whitman. The boy's phone buzzed wildly. His viewers had found more. Screenshots, archived articles, fragments of old testimonies were flooding the stream. One comment glared bright across his screen. He ruined more than Harris. Look deeper. Whitman's eyes darted toward the boy, catching sight of the glowing feed. Turn that off, he barked. But the boy did not flinch. His hands trembled, but the camera stayed steady. Danielle spoke again, her tone sharp. Truth has already left this room. It is bigger than your voice now. Whitman slammed both palms on the counter, sweat dripping down his temples. You do not understand. If those files spread, if people believe them. He cut himself short, biting down the rest. The old man's eyes narrowed. If, Gerald, it is no longer if, it is when. Whitman's breathing grew heavy, ragged. His words came in a whisper now, barely audible. There are others. There are more names. Danielle tilted her head, her eyes never leaving his. Then perhaps the storm will not stop with Harris. The diner trembled with silence. Everyone felt it. The truth was not finished. It had only begun. The live stream chat burned with urgency. Messages flew across the boy's screen. Search deeper. There are more. Find the names. The audience outside the diner was no longer passive. They were investigators, digging furiously into Whitman's past. Gerald Whitman's shoulders sagged under the weight of his own words. There are others, he whispered again, as though admitting it pulled oxygen from his lungs. His eyes darted around the diner, hunting for escape that did not exist. The elderly man's tone grew sharper. "Say their names, Gerald. Let the truth breathe." Whitman's lips quivered. "No, you cannot make me." Danielle leaned forward, her gaze unshakable. "It is not us, Gerald. It is the truth itself, and it is already here." Her phone buzzed once more. The message glowed. "Second file confirmed. Multiple accounts. Upload pending." She slid the screen across the counter, letting the words sit in plain sight. Gasps rippled through the room. The waitress clutched her apron. "Multiple accounts?" she whispered, her voice shaking. Whitman's face drained of color. His hands gripped the counter until his knuckles turned white. "You cannot know those names, you cannot—" But the live stream audience already knew. Comments screamed across the boys' feed. "3 names, we found 3. It matches the pattern. Release them now." The boy's camera shook as he whispered into the mic. "They are saying there are 3 more victims." "Weavery." The couple near the window exchanged horrified glances. "How many people did he silence?" the woman murmured. Danielle's voice was calm, cutting. "Every silence leaves a mark, and every mark waits for its day." Whitman stumbled back, his breath ragged, his words breaking apart. "If those names come out, it will destroy everything." The old man's reply was merciless. "It will destroy the lies, Gerald. That is all." The diner hung on the edge of collapse. And yet, the storm was still rising. "Tau." The boy's screen pulsed with a flood of comments, a tidal wave he could not hold back. 3 names burned bright across the feed: Angela Reed, Thomas Klein, Javier Morales. The boy whispered into his microphone, "They found them. 3 more." His voice cracked as if speaking the names carried their weight into the room. The live stream audience exploded. Angela filed harassment claims. Klein vanished after whistleblowing. Morales was forced out. The history Whitman had buried was clawing its way into the open. Inside the diner, no one else yet knew. But the boy's trembling hands betrayed that something monumental had shifted. Whitman's eyes locked onto him. "What did you see?" His voice was sharp, panicked. "Tell me what you saw." The boy froze, clutching the phone closer to his chest. Danielle's calm voice intervened. "Do not ask him, Gerald. Ask yourself why those names still terrify you." The elderly man leaned forward, eyes burning. "Angela, Thomas, Javier. Do you remember what you did to each of them?" Whitman staggered back. His breath came ragged, his face pale. "They were disloyal. They betrayed me. I had no choice." His words poured out fast, unguarded, as if his defenses were collapsing in front of every witness. The waitress gasped audibly. "He admits it," she whispered. "He admits it out loud." The couple near the window exchanged horrified looks. "This is bigger than Harris," the woman said, clutching her daughter. Danielle's phone buzzed once more. A new message appeared. "Board meeting scheduled. Immediate review in progress." She read it silently, her expression unchanged, but her presence heavier than ever. Whitman saw her glance and erupted. "You cannot take this from me. I built everything. Without me, that bank collapses." Danielle met his rage with stillness. "Without you, Gerald, it finally stands." The diner was silent. Every person inside felt the storm breaking overhead, yet they knew this was not the end. The diner was silent, but the silence was not empty. It was heavy, charged, alive with the truth that had been clawing its way into the open all night. Danielle Brooks placed her phone upright on the counter. The message shone bright for everyone to see. Board meeting concluded. Effective immediately. Gerald Whitman removed. Interim authority transferred. The room gasped. The waitress clutched her apron to her chest. The couple near the window stared in disbelief. The boy's camera zoomed in, his live stream exploding with comments. "He is finished." She ended him. Justice in real time. Whitman collapsed back against the counter, his face pale, his breath shallow. You cannot do this," he stammered. "Without me, the bank." Danielle's eyes never wavered. Her voice was calm, decisive. "Without you, the bank finally breathes. Because I am not just a witness, Gerald. I am the majority shareholder. I am the power you never saw coming." Every cliffhanger found its resolution. The old man who had whispered Harris's name nodded now. His silence explained. He had been waiting for this moment, holding the truth until someone with power could finish what Harris began. The live stream that started as a quiet act of courage had become a tidal wave, spreading justice far beyond the diner walls. And the names Angela, Thomas, Javier were no longer whispers buried in silence. They were evidence, undeniable and public. Whitman's knees buckled. His hands shook violently as he pleaded, "Please, not like this." Danielle stood tall. "This is not punishment, Gerald. This is consequence. You ended yourself the moment you believed dignity could be denied." The old man placed his empty cup down one last time, the sound echoing like a gavel striking. The storm Danielle had promised was no longer coming. It was here, and it had left Whitman with nothing. Before we close, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. If you believe justice cannot be silenced, like this video and subscribe for more stories that matter. We are glad you are here. Danielle Brooks turned from the counter, her steps measured, her presence unbroken. Behind her, Gerald Whitman crumbled into the silence he had once forced on others. Justice did not shout that night. It spoke calmly, and it ended a career forever.